Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Triangles Meditation Group. Today, we have the opportunity to be working within the second day of distribution of the energies of the Aries full moon period. And our presenter today, after the first visualization, will be Brad Berg, who will be sharing on the topic of from knowledge to wisdom, have an effective practice to get there. Brad is a longtime student of the Alice Bailey teachings, and he also has spent 4 decades in the mental health field and is currently working on organizing a conference on leadership, focusing on supporting the next generation. And this is an auspicious time for Brad because we'd like to congratulate him on the publication of a novel of contemporary visionary fiction entitled That Resplendent Day. The book highlights the overcoming of adversity and the actualization of aspiration as the world rushes towards an existential crossroads and culminates in the arrival of great souls. The story is meant to inform mainstream readers about the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. And it's currently in pre-sale and is available through most online book retailers in both print and ebook format. And I'd also like to let everyone know about the global resource page on the Lucis Trust website, which is going to be posted, a link to it is posted in the chat box. So this global resource is simply a listing of all groups throughout the world, and you might find one in your area where people are gathering together at the time of the full moon and also for study groups. So you might want to look into that. And so now let's begin with a brief moment of silence to connect with all Triangles workers throughout the world, followed by the sounding of the noontime recollection. We know, O Lord of life and love, about the need. Touch our hearts anew with love, that we too may love and give. And we'd like to extend a special greeting to those of you who are new to the work of Triangles and joining in with us today. And we hope that after learning more about this planetary service, you will be encouraged to form a triangle. Through this means, you will join with the thousands of individuals throughout the world who are using the power of thought and prayer to help raise the vibratory rate of the planet and to uplift and transform consciousness. If anyone would like to find Triangles partners, whether for your first triangle or for additional ones, please place your name in the chat box. And in the chat box, you will also find a brief outline of how to do the work of Triangles. This outline is suggestive and it can be adapted by each triangle partner. But simply stated, Triangles involves finding 2 other people to link up with each day and visualizing a golden lighted triangle connecting the 3 of you. You then link your triangle with all other triangles throughout the world and visualize the planet surrounded by this golden lighted radiating network of triangles, the triangle being the symbol of the soul. The work is then completed by sounding the great invocation, a world prayer that serves to release and circulate the contacted energies. At the beginning of each new precessional age, which is a 2160-year cycle, the energies impacting the planet shift. This shift is a gradual process covering approximately a 500-year transition period in which the energies of the previous age pass out and blend with the new and incoming energies. This shift brings in a new governing ray, constellational, and planetary rulership. As you know, we're now passing into the Aquarian age, which will be accompanied by the seventh ray and the planetary rulers of the planets Uranus and Jupiter, the seventh and second ray planets. And Aquarius itself is overshadowed by the fifth ray, making the New Age scientific, but a science which will be based on a deepened understanding of the subjective factors underlying this outer world. One of the primary objectives of the Triangles work is to prepare human consciousness for the return of the world teacher, the Christ. At the beginning of each new age, a teacher steps forward and stands as the focalizing and transmuting agent for the new incoming energies. This teacher will be an embodiment of the new energies. In past ages, this focalizing teacher had few members within the human kingdom who were sufficiently evolved enough to be able to cooperate with the released energies. But today, the situation is dramatically changed, and this time the teacher will be accompanied by an enlightened group of individuals, as well as a trained group, the new group of world servers, who will cooperate in transmuting the incoming energies so they can reach out to encompass the entire world. Now is the time that humanity has within its hands the ability to call forth the return of this teacher, if it acts unitedly and with focused intent. And there's another underlying purpose of the Triangles work, one that contributes to an even larger purpose within the trajectory of planetary evolution. That task being to help make the planet sacred, or a planet in which the planetary soul, rather than the planetary personality, is controlling. Technically speaking, a sacred planet is defined as one in which the planetary logos, or the great life embodied in the planet, has taken a cosmic initiation. Our planetary logos, we're told, is in process of realizing that achievement, and subjectively speaking, is said to have already done so. A key factor necessary for this achievement is an awakening within the human kingdom, the third point within the planetary triangle. For it is through humanity and the externalizing masters of the wisdom that spiritual energies can be anchored in form. This finds its parallel within the initiatory process of a human being, wherein the human initiations must be taken within a physical body. The Aquarian energies are facilitating this process on a wider scale than ever before possible, as this is an energy that is qualified by group work, and the accompanying seventh ray brings together spirit and matter. One of the objectives of the coming age is to establish within the human kingdom a great station of light that will have far-reaching implications for the planet, the solar system, and even the cosmos. But the work of Triangles extends well beyond the human kingdom alone. It's rather an outgrowth of the triangular work undertaken by the great lives who inform not only the planets, but more broadly the constellational lives and great groupings of stars that combine in triangular formations throughout the cosmos, who are ceaselessly working to transmute and transmit energies throughout all systems, great and small. It is we, humanity, who are cooperating within this broader effort. Right now, one such major triangular configuration impacting our planetary logos is being highlighted when the sun is in Aries. It's said to be a configuration that is a macrocosmic reflection of the 5 conditioning ray energies of the Logos himself. We could say it is always functioning, but during Aries, it comes under a potent vibratory stimulation. If we take a little time to study this diagram, we will see that it is a powerful first ray line of energy transmission. The energy moves from a first ray fixed star in the Great Bear, moving then through Aries, a first ray constellation, and into the orb of our Logos, who is governed by the first ray at the highest level. This higher triangle then stimulates a triangle formed between Earth and the two first ray planets, Vulcan, the sacred planet, and Pluto, the non-sacred. It is helpful to always keep in mind that because our solar system is decidedly second ray, we can see the potency of divine love, this time ushered in not only for the Logos, but through all selves within his body of expression, which includes ourselves. 2,000 years ago, Christ ushered in the Piscean age and anchored the energies of love and service. He now comes to bring the fires of love, as his link with the Father in the center Shambhala has been more firmly established. Through the work of spiritual activities such as triangles, we become part of this living process of preparing human consciousness for the release of these fiery energies of love. We'll now come together and work with our visualization, reflection on the great invocation. So let's link in thought as a soul, as a point of love and light, with all those people throughout the world who are part of the Triangle's service work. And now we'll visualize the world situation as best you can and see people everywhere glowing with a dim light, and here and there points of brighter light, where men and women of goodwill and spiritual intention and loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. Visualize the world's situation as best you can and see people everywhere glowing with a dim light, and here and there points of brighter light, where men and women of spiritual intention and of loving hearts are working for their fellow human beings. Visualize the vivid light of the spiritual kingdom streaming towards humanity and merging with the light which is already in humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. Now ponder upon the reappearance of the coming world teacher and realize that no matter by what name he may be called in the many world religions, he is still the same great identity. Reflect and speculate upon the possible results of his appearance, followed by the sounding of the second stanza of the great invocation. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. Endeavor to concentrate your fixed intention to serve and to spread love in your surroundings. And realize that insofar as you can do these things, you're attempting to blend your personal will with the divine will. Then say stanza 3 of the Great Invocation. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. And let's take a moment to dedicate the threefold group personality to the working out of the divine plan. And we sound the Om. Om. Thank you. So we'd now like to welcome Brad. Brad, are you there?
Yes, I am, Kathy.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Kathy. And thanks so much to Lucis Trust for giving me this opportunity to speak with you again. And thanks to all of you who work with or volunteer to assist the activities of Lucis Trust. Please keep in mind that today I'm just sharing information, ideas, and hopefully some inspiration. So please only accept what I say if you can verify it through your own experience. So here we are in 2025. Yes, we are told of a hierarchical conclave occurring only once in a century. There is, however, a risk that we may possibly expect too much too soon. Their decisions and any adjustments to the plan may take years or even decades to manifest. So given the state of the world today, we can't afford to just wait and watch for the results of hierarchy. We have to do the work to make it happen. Purpose arises in Shambhala. The hierarchy senses it and creates a plan, and it is humanity which manifests the plan on earth with the light, love, and power available for us to use. Thank goodness we have hierarchy to guide and galvanize us, as well as so many coworkers to join in the effort. Aquarius is the age of group consciousness and group discipleship, and it is coming into alignment at just the right time. Consider that activities involving meditation or using a great invocation subjects us to the energies evoked by hierarchy and by our own soul. So be sure to use the energy to serve the plan in whatever way you may, no matter how small you think your part is, even if it is only subjective, or even if you can afford to donate only $1 to any organization doing good work. The books of the Master DK have provided us with a stupendous amount of information and knowledge to the extent that we can retain and begin to understand it. So what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? How do we transmute knowledge into wisdom? How do we transmute ourselves? Wisdom develops as we implement our knowledge through everyday efforts to be useful human beings and to understand and evolve ourselves. Through our life experiences as souls incarnate, if our eyes are open, we learn a myriad of lessons along the way. When we use our knowledge to effectively manage our daily dharma and to serve and to become, we learn the numerous needed lessons and grow wiser as we progress along the way. We increase our ability to understand cause and meaning and to see into the underlying dynamics of both our inner process and outer events. How else can our soul eventually control the outer form? As you surely may have noticed, human beings tend to learn the hard way. In those situations of painful lessons learned, it is very healthy to recognize and appreciate what we have gleaned, rather than criticize ourselves and create a negative state from which we then have to emerge. Isn't that the way it's set up on this currently imperfect planet of ours? We could say that knowledge is personality-based and wisdom is of the soul. Wisdom develops naturally during our life when we work on our goal of self-transformation, which includes enhancing our ability to serve and love. Then, if we do have such a goal, it is incredibly useful to have a method to attain that goal, to have some structure or rituals or a particular concrete way we are using the teachings. It can be virtually any spiritual path we make the conscious effort to tread. It has been said that to tread the path, we must become the path, which happens occultly in our consciousness as we create the rainbow bridge. It's not waiting there for us to cross. Besides various doctrines, affirmations, and key beliefs, our practice can include things like diet, innumerable forms of meditation, hatha yoga, chanting, spiritual reading, classes, creative activity, and 1,000 other things we can learn from 1,000 types of practices, whether it's a form of Tibetan Buddhism, Sufism, Masonry, an earth-based religion, anthroposophy, or Christian denomination. Developing the ability to truly and consciously control what we think and feel every moment is often a given. As we proceed and progress, the methods we use altogether become one synthesized approach and this then is our practice. Of course, there are likely to be some of you who may be immersed in karma yoga, also called the yoga of labor or the yoga of service. You may be so heartfully serving that there is not another moment to even think about having a practice. You are doing so to your full extent. Well, that is perfect, and thank you for what you are doing. And perhaps there are many of you who are well ahead of what I'm talking about and already have a defined practice that works for you. I certainly hope that to be true. Several times in the Alice Bailey books, DK mentions 3 fundamental tools on the path: meditation, discipline, and service. A slight variation from the Arcane School guidance of meditation, study, and service. I suggest his use of the word discipline here refers to the never-ending effort to transform ourselves, to become soul-infused, to move from knowledge to wisdom. The books aren't just to be read to absorb tons of fascinating information, which we can then repeat to ourselves and others. The material is also there to be applied. I'm reminded of the last sentence in the book, The Externalization of the Hierarchy. Work, my brothers. Actually, that entire last page is truly exceptional. You might want to take a moment to review it. In the Agni Yoga books, the Master Morya frequently urges us to apply the teachings. The more we read and study, the greater our self-induced responsibility to apply it in our lives. I've heard it said that a treatise on white magic is a workbook. Having spent hundreds of hours with that book, I can see that it sure can take a long, long while to effectively apply the content there. We can surely be successful using what is given if we truly maintain our effort to strive towards our higher spiritual possibilities for as long as it takes, no matter how steep the road. Here's another potent line from the Blue Books. Rest not above all from your meditation work. Keep the inner link. Think truth at all times. I'll say that again. Rest not above all from your meditation work. Keep the inner link. Think truth at all times. That's White Magic, page 521. It certainly provides us with a real challenge when we try to actually live that injunction. Those 3 short sentences comprise the basis of a profound spiritual practice. Perhaps you see why I'm giving this talk now, to inspire us and myself to have an effective practice. Having a practice speeds up our evolutionary process, not just for ourselves, but also for humanity. There's really only one soul. About 40 years ago, I was chatting with the teacher of a Gurdjieff group. He asked me, Bradley, how's your practice going? That question was very provocative for me. Afterwards, when I pondered on this, I began to see more clearly the difference between aspiration with a generalized effort to live more as the soul versus having an actual self-determined daily and even moment-to-moment spiritual practice. This is especially important to those of us who may have some of the 6th ray of devotion and idealism in our makeup. The 6th ray can be associated with emotion, and emotion has its home on the astral plane. The risk here is that our idealism and emotional enthusiasm remain on the emotional plane and don't get precipitated and manifested in the physical world. Like Jesus said, we are known by our fruits. So don't leave your aspiration as a bud that blooms but never ripens to become edible fruit. Live your aspiration. Make it manifest in your own way. Whatever particular practice you follow, now or later, is totally up to you. I have no recommendations for any particular one. There is one common feature found in so many practices, and that is having an inner state from which we can live as the observer, one where we are in the world but not of the world. This does not suggest being cold and aloof. It's more about being fully present in the moment and being able to consciously respond to external stimuli rather than having automatic, emotionally based reactions. Hopefully, we are all already working on this one and doing well with it. Living as the observer is easy to say, yet exceedingly difficult to attain, especially if we have busy or complicated lives. Of course, It is the soul that is the observer, and in this state of being, the life of our personality becomes transparent to us. Then we can make the needed adjustments. A relevant line from the Agni Yoga books is practice constant vigilance. Easy to say and exceedingly hard to do, but we can strive toward that level of soul presence. It really requires being polarized in the causal body. Sometimes just pausing for one good breath with a full, slow exhale and maybe a sigh can ease us back into our inner center from which we can live in the world consciously as the soul. Having the intention to develop and use a particular practice can start with a brutal self-honesty as we recognize where our starting point truly is. This helps us choose the methods we need to implement in order to move from knowledge to wisdom, from a personality-centered life to a soul-centered way of being in the world. Recalling the Ten Commandments from the Old Testament, let's consider the first one. I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt have no other gods before me. An exoteric view of this is that it merely refers to monotheism and the existence of just one God, not gods of the sun, the moon, the harvest. However, an esoteric interpretation tells us that I am refers to the self, to the absolute, to all. At the individual level, the self is the spark of divinity, Om Mani Padme Hum, where the monad, Mani, is the jewel, and the lotus, Padme, is the soul. Having no other gods before me means not allowing any attachments or distractions to impede us from fully living as the self, with no encumbrances getting in the way. It is avowing that our true nature is divine. In the New Testament, it was said, be ye perfect, a truly tough task, yet we are being told it is possible. The Buddha gave us a practice to do this, which we find in the fourth of the Noble Truths. It's called the Eightfold Path. Another technique you can use, no matter what your practice, can be found in astrology. In mundane or exoteric astrology, the first house represents the self, yet that is self with a small s. In the book Esoteric Astrology, DK tells us the sun sign is basically an expression of our personality, while the ascendant sign, the one rising in the first house, and I'm about to paraphrase here, indicates the intended life or immediate soul purpose for this incarnation. It holds the secret of the future and presents the force which, if rightly used, will lead to success. It represents the sattvic or harmony aspect of life and can produce right relationship between soul and personality. It thus points the way to the recognition of the force of the soul. So, the guidance here is to embrace the energy and qualities of your rising sign, even if you are just acting as if, which is often all we can do. Another tip to enhance your practice is to be watchful and observe how you use your energy every moment. This leads to exploring what you really pay attention to. We notice which aspect of our we notice which aspect of our nature the energy is being distributed through, mind, emotions, or another vehicle. It leads to understanding where we are polarized. Is it on the mental, astral, or physical plane? And if it is on the mental plane, are you primarily thinking concretely, or is your mental energy on more subtle and abstract levels? It makes the difference between thinking and feeling ultimately clear, especially as it is the thought which produces the emotion, even if the thought lasts just a nanosecond. Then we can explore what quality of energy is flowing through our nature, which for some can lead to considering our rays. When we make a serious long-term study of ourselves and the seven rays, we can come up with a working hypothesis. It might help to study what DK calls the vices of the rays, as well as the virtues, and that can be a very humbling process. And you might want to keep in mind that the personality ray is the sub-ray of the soul. That said, I encourage you not to tell others what you think their rays are. If I tell you I think you have a second ray soul, and you believe I am wise enough to know this, but you actually have a soul in the third ray, I might be the cause of decades of your distorted sense of self. All right, two last tips for transmuting knowledge into wisdom. Start the day with a clear intention to implement your practice. Remind yourself of it frequently during the day, if only for a moment, and check in with yourself at bedtime to see how it went. And whenever possible, depending on the current phase of your life, work with others. Remember the circle of groups within which you live and move and have your being, and know that we are moving forward together, serving together, and that the hierarchy stands. One final quote from Esoteric Psychology, Volume 2, page 189. I challenge you above all to a deeper life, and I implore you for the sake of your fellow men to strengthen your contact with your own soul so that you will have done your share in making revelation possible, so that you will have served your part in bringing in the light, and will therefore be in a position to take advantage of that new light and new information, and so be better able to point the way and clear the path for the bewildered seeker at that time. Those who are not ready for the coming events will be blinded by the emerging light and bewildered by the revealing wonder. They will be swept by the living breath of God, and it is to you that we look to fit them for the event. Thanks, folks, and I wish you Godspeed in your great journey on the path of becoming and serving.
Thank you so much, Brad. That was very inspiring. And we have a few moments left before our final meditation. And I wondered if I could just ask one question, and then maybe we can open it up to the wider group if they have any questions, which they can raise their hands to ask. So this question would also draw upon your many years' work in the mental health field. And it's just a question about the challenges of the spiritual path today, which you've probably saw many people with many challenges in your work. And also we here at the Trust see many challenges in the path of many people who are inquiring the way. It seems that there are many, so much stimulation in the world today. And I think part of our spiritual practices is going slow. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Okay, that was kind of a broad question. Yes. Sometimes it helps to go slow, especially when there is so much stimulation. Now, as I mentioned, some of it comes from our own soul, just coming into contact. When the personality comes in contact with the soul, we expose ourselves to more energy. And I think even going back to the days when electricity was developed and the planet was electrified, and now we have the internet, and we're coming into all kinds of astrological alignments that you were so adept at describing. There's so much stimulation, and sometimes we just have to sort it out and find out what can we do in this moment now. Sure, it's good to have a long-term goal, and the more contact we do have with our soul, the more we see that the imperfections of the personality arise before us, and they get us into all kinds of quagmires. So just take it slow and have enough poise to know what to do in one moment. Because sometimes the best practice is just to be poised enough so that you just get every little thing and every little moment right.
Yeah, one of the things that we also see is that compared to many decades ago when we were first entering the path, today there are so many teachers, teachings, many of which detract from one's ability to really take that slower road. You know, so many of these practices are geared towards a forcing process, you know, and I think that's causing a lot of what the Tibetan called occult wrecks on the path. And so I think one of the things that the Tibetan really encouraged people to do is to choose wisely, to use that as discrimination in order to find a spiritual practice that's not going to damage you through forcing you to open channels within consciousness that cannot be so easily closed. And I'm
Yeah,
sure,
that's very true. You know, channels in consciousness that can't be easily closed. You said basically, let's call that the astral plane, or even your own subconscious.
yeah,
Um, and since you mentioned the mental health field, you know, people with schizophrenia, sometimes I see that as there's no veil, no difference between their subconscious and their conscious mind. They're just open to the subconscious realms, to the subtle world, to the astral plane. And it's tough enough to deal with how we are now. But if you're getting in contact with thought forms or denizens who live in the subtle realms, it can be way too overwhelming. So yes, you must be incredibly discriminative. And
yeah,
sometimes you have to stop a certain practice because it's not right for us.
yes, but sometimes if you've opened those doors, it's exceedingly difficult to close them. And so the
Yeah.
focus needs to be on preventing people from entering into unwise spiritual practices.
We can guide them and inspire them, but perhaps they have to prevent it themselves.
Yeah, I think there's educational information that can aid people to guide them through the jungles of the spiritual marketplace.
Yeah, I guess the arcane school does that. And just one last thought about being too open. You know, I would not encourage people to take any kind of hallucinogenics because sometimes that door opens, it's too much, and then never closes.
You
I'm talking about the doors to the astral plane, the lower levels.
yeah. We don't see any raised hands here. Everybody's a little shy. Um, so, okay,
Yeah.
Wendy Boyd or John Hurren first. Okay. Hello, John.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Brad. Great talk. I just want to concur. It's very valuable that you pointed out that people should avoid the use of hallucinogenics. There have been many jurisdictions where they've been legalized. Some are being prescribed in very small microdoses. I would just add to the group and to all who might listen. This is no time to be going on a roller coaster ride through the astral plane. The waves, or the oceans are far too furious and royal these days. So I thank you for bringing up that point. But with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Well, maybe it's time now to go into our meditation. And thank you again, Brad,
Mm-hmm.
for your presentation.
Thanks for the invitation.
We work with our triangles webinar meditation, energizing the planetary network. Stage 1, we come together as a group unity on the mental plane. And we identify as a soul with the world group functioning through the 3 planetary centers of London, Geneva, and New York as a triangle of light. And now we extend the identification through the soul to the new group of world servers, to the hierarchy, and to the Christ, the transcendent point of synthesis at the center of every triangle. And then to the triangle of energy standing behind the Christ. And now we identify the center Shambhala, the center of purpose and power. Now we recognize the synthesis of three streams of cosmic energy within Shambhala, where the will of God is known. And we use the dedication. In the center of the will of God I stand. Naught shall deflect my will from his. I implement that will by love. I turn towards the field of service. I, the triangle divine, work out that will within the square and serve my fellow men. Visualize a network of lighted triangles underlying the entire outer world of physical life and events. And see the network linking all triangle units and relating all points of light throughout the world. See the network relating the world of spiritual realities, the hierarchy, to the world of experience, humanity, and acting as a channel of distribution within humanity for the spiritual energies pouring through the hierarchy. And finally, see the network transforming the planetary etheric vehicle to receive and circulate the energies of the soul and the triad, will, love, and light. Now realize that the energies of light, love, and the will to good, evoked by all triangles workers, pulsating through the planetary network of triangles, are having an inevitable effect within the three worlds, mental, emotional, and etheric, of human evolution, lifting human consciousness and helping to create the path of light for the feet of the Christ. Reflect on the purpose, function, and right development of the triangles network as an hierarchical activity. blended with the group, stand with positive intent as a station of radiant light within the network of light and goodwill. And we sound the adapted great invocation, directing the triple energies through the triangle's network and throughout the consciousness of all humanity. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, everyone. And we just wanted to let you know that next month, due to the fact that the second Monday of the month will be the Wesak Festival, we won't be holding a Triangles webinar. And we will, in the Geneva and London centers, we'll be having a full moon Wesak celebration. So you're invited to join in with that. And also with the New York meeting on the 11th of May, and the 10th and 11th are the New York Arcane School Conference. So we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.